When a duchess walks onto a talk show stage thinking she owns the place, only to discover that respect has to be earned, not demanded. In just 35 seconds, one comment would turn a casual interview into an all-out war that ended with security escorting a former royal off the set. Before we dive into this explosive moment, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now because we are pulling back the curtain on royalty's dark side. We are exposing entitled celebrities and their shocking behavior the cameras never showed you. We have got the raw footage they do not want you to see, and you will not want to miss a single reveal. Drop a comment below and let us know what you think about this outrageous behavior. Now, let's get into what really happened. The studio lights were bright that afternoon. Andy Cohen sat in his usual spot, ready for another episode of Watch What Happens Live. He had interviewed hundreds of celebrities. He knew how to handle egos. He knew how to manage difficult guests. But nothing could have prepared him for what was about to unfold. Meghan walked onto the stage wearing a smile that did not quite reach her eyes. The audience clapped politely. Andy stood up to greet her, extending his hand for a friendly handshake. She looked at his hand for a moment, then walked past him to sit down without any acknowledgement. The audience went quiet. You could feel the tension already building. Andy, ever the professional, laughed it off. He sat down and picked up his cards. "Well, welcome to the show. It is great to have you here." Meghan crossed her legs and looked around the studio like she was inspecting it. "I have been on bigger sets," she said flatly. The audience let out a nervous laugh. Andy raised his eyebrows but kept smiling. "I am sure you have, so let's jump right in. You have been in the public eye for years now. How do you handle all the attention?" "Handle it?" Meghan repeated, tilting her head. "Andy, I do not handle attention. Attention follows me. There is a difference." Andy nodded slowly, trying to keep things light. "Right, of course. So, tell us about your recent projects. What have you been working on?" Meghan sighed deeply, like the question bored her. "You know, I am working on several things. Very important things. Things that matter. Not the kind of shallow content most people in this industry focus on." The audience shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Andy's smile tightened just a little. "Well, we would love to hear about these important projects." "I am sure you would," Meghan said, examining her nails. "But I do not think your audience would understand the depth of what I am doing. No offense to them, but my work operates on a different level." Andy put down his cards. "Actually, our audience is pretty smart. They might surprise you." Meghan gave a small, condescending laugh. "If you say so." One audience member called out, "We are right here, you know." Meghan turned to look at the audience with a cold stare. "Exactly. You are there and I am here. There is a reason for that." The entire studio gasped. Andy leaned forward in his chair. "Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hold on. That was completely uncalled for. These people took time out of their day to be here, and I took time out of my very busy schedule to grace this show with my presence." Meghan shot back. "I think we are even." Andy shook his head. "No, we are not even. You do not get to disrespect people like that. Celebrity or not, everyone deserves basic respect." Meghan's face turned red. "Do not lecture me about respect. Do you have any idea who you are talking to?" "I am talking to a guest on my show," Andy said calmly but firmly. "And right now, you are being incredibly rude." "Rude?" Meghan stood up from her chair. "I am being honest. Something people in your world would not understand. You all smile and pretend and kiss up to everyone. I am real. I say what I think." "Being real does not mean being cruel," Andy replied, also standing up. "There is a difference between honesty and arrogance." Meghan pointed her finger at Andy. "You invited me here. You wanted me on this show because my name brings viewers. So do not act like you are doing me some kind of favor." The audience started booing. Someone yelled, "Get off the stage!" Andy held up his hand to calm the crowd. "Listen, I have had hundreds of guests on this show. Some I agree with, some I do not. But every single one of them understood that this is a conversation, not a monologue. You came here thinking you could talk down to everyone, and that is not how this works." Meghan crossed her arms. "Maybe that is exactly the problem with shows like this. You want everyone to play nice and pretend. Well, I do not pretend." "No, you just insult people," Andy said. "There is nothing brave or honest about that. It is just mean." Meghan laughed bitterly. "Mean? You think I am mean? Try living my life. Try dealing with what I deal with every single day. The press, the criticism, the constant judgment, and then come talk to me about being mean." Andy softened his voice just slightly. "Look, I get that you have been through a lot. I really do. But that does not give you the right to take it out on people who have done nothing to you. These audience members, they did not write those articles. They did not create those headlines. They are just regular people who wanted to see a good show. Well, maybe they should have picked a better show to attend, Meghan snapped. The boos got louder. Andy's producer could be seen off camera, talking urgently into a headset. Andy took a deep breath. Okay, I think we need to take a break here. No, Meghan said sharply. We are not taking a break. I have more to say. I am sure you do, Andy replied, but I am not sure anyone wants to hear it right now. Meghan's eyes widened. Excuse me? You heard me, Andy said, his voice steady and calm. You came onto this show with an attitude from the moment you walked through that door. You refused to shake my hand. You insulted the set. You insulted the audience, and you have been condescending from the very first question. I have tried to give you the benefit of the doubt, but you keep making it worse. How dare you, Meghan hissed. I am a duchess. Andy actually laughed at that. Not anymore. You are not. And even if you were, that title does not mean anything here. This is America. We do not bow to royalty. We treat people based on how they treat others. And right now, you are failing miserably. Meghan took a step closer to Andy. You have no idea what I have sacrificed, what I have given up. Then tell us, Andy said, gesturing to the audience. Have a real conversation. Stop talking down to everyone and actually share your experience. That is what people want to hear. They want authenticity, not superiority. Meghan paused for a moment, and for just a second, it looked like she might actually open up, but then her face hardened again. These people could never understand my life. Andy threw his hands up. And there it is again. You know what? I have tried. I have really tried here. But I am not going to let you continue to insult everyone in this room. What are you going to do about it? Meghan challenged. Kick me off your little show? Andy looked her straight in the eye. If that is what it takes, yes. The audience erupted in cheers. Meghan looked genuinely shocked. You would not dare. Watch me, Andy said. He turned to someone off camera. Can we get security, please? Meghan's mouth dropped open. You are joking. This is a joke, right? Does it look like I am joking? Andy asked. I gave you multiple chances to turn this around. You could have apologized. You could have had a real conversation. Instead, you doubled down on being disrespectful. 2 security guards appeared from the side of the stage. Meghan looked at them, then back at Andy. This is ridiculous. You are making a huge mistake. The only mistake I made was thinking you would show up here with some humility, Andy said. I have interviewed reality TV stars with more grace than you have shown today. Reality TV stars? Meghan said with disgust. You are comparing me to reality TV stars? At least they know how to treat people, Andy shot back. At least they understand that being on a show means being respectful to the host and the audience. Meghan grabbed her purse from beside the chair. Fine, I do not need this. I do not need you or your show or any of this. Then why did you agree to come? Andy asked. If we are all so beneath you, why are you here? Meghan did not answer. She just glared at him. That is what I thought, Andy said quietly. You wanted the platform. You wanted the attention. But you were not willing to give anything back. One of the security guards gently touched Meghan's elbow. Ma'am, we need you to come with us. Meghan yanked her arm away. Do not touch me. They are just doing their job, Andy said, just like I am doing mine. Meghan turned to face the audience one last time. You are all going to regret this. Someone in the audience yelled back, No, we really will not. The whole crowd started laughing and clapping. Meghan's face turned even redder. She looked like she wanted to say something else, but instead, she just spun around and started walking toward the exit. Andy called after her. For what it is worth, I really did want this to go well. I wanted to hear your side of things. I wanted to give you a fair chance. Meghan stopped walking, but did not turn around. You have no idea what fair means. Maybe not, Andy said, but I know what respect means. And I know what happens when someone thinks they are too important to show it. Meghan continued walking. The security guards followed her off the stage. The audience was on their feet, some cheering, some still looking shocked by what they had just witnessed. Andy stood there for a moment, processing everything. Then he turned back to the camera. Well, folks, that was not how I expected this afternoon to go. The audience laughed, the tension finally breaking. I want to say something, Andy continued, walking back to his chair but not sitting down. I have been doing this show for a long time. I have had guests who were nervous, guests who were shy, guests who were excited, and yes, guests who were difficult. but I have never had someone come on here and treat everyone with such open contempt." The audience clapped in agreement. "And here is the thing," Andy went on. "I do not care who you are or what titles you have or what family you married into. If you cannot treat people with basic decency, you do not belong on this stage. Period." More applause filled the studio. "I feel bad for her, honestly," Andy said, and he sounded genuine. "Because I think somewhere deep down, there might be a real person with real struggles. But you cannot hide behind your struggles as an excuse to be cruel. Everyone has problems. Everyone faces challenges. That does not give you a free pass to look down on others." Someone in the audience shouted, "Preach!" Andy smiled. "Look, I am not perfect. I have made mistakes on this show. I have said things I regret, but I have always tried to create a space where people feel welcome, where guests and audience members alike can have fun and be themselves. And I am not going to let anyone, no matter how famous, come in here and ruin that." The applause got even louder. "So, I want to apologize to all of you," Andy said, gesturing to the crowd. "You came here for a good time, and instead you got, well, whatever that was." "It was amazing!" someone yelled. Andy laughed. "Well, I am glad you enjoyed it. But seriously, you all deserve better, and I promise you, we are going to make the rest of this show fantastic." The audience cheered again. Andy finally sat back down in his chair. You know what the craziest part is? We had prepared all these fun questions. We had games planned. We were going to talk about fashion and travel and all sorts of interesting stuff. But from the moment she walked in, it was clear she did not want to have fun. She wanted to make a point. "And what point was that?" someone called out. "That she is better than everyone else, I guess," Andy said with a shrug. "But here is what she does not understand. Being better than someone is not about titles or money or fame. It is about character. It is about how you treat the person serving your coffee, or holding the door for you, or sitting in the audience of a talk show." The crowd went wild with applause. "I have met royalty before," Andy continued. "Real royalty, people with actual current titles and responsibilities. And you know what? Most of them are incredibly kind. They understand that their position is about service, not superiority. They get that being in the public eye means being a role model." A woman in the audience stood up. "Can I say something?" Andy nodded. "Of course, go ahead." "I just want to thank you for standing up for us," the woman said. "It would have been easy to just let her get away with it because she is famous. But you did not. You showed her that actions have consequences, and I think that is really important." The audience applauded the woman as she sat back down. "Thank you," Andy said warmly. "That means a lot. And you are absolutely right. Actions do have consequences. If I had let that behavior slide, what message would that send? That it is okay to be rude as long as you are famous? That regular people do not matter as much as celebrities? No way. Not on my watch." Someone else shouted, "You are the best, Andy." Andy grinned. "I do not know about that, but I appreciate it. Here's what I do know, though. Every single person in this room matters. Every single person watching at home matters. You all have value, you all deserve respect, and you should never let anyone make you feel small." The entire studio erupted in cheers and applause. Some people were even standing and clapping. All right, Andy said, trying to calm everyone down but clearly moved by the response. "We have got to actually do a show here. Let me see if I can salvage this episode." He picked up his cards and shuffled through them. "Okay, so obviously our main guest is gone. Shocker. But you know what? We have got some amazing people here in this audience, and I think it is time we let you all shine." The audience went crazy. "That is right," Andy said. "We are turning this into an audience show. Who wants to come up here and sit in the guest chair?" Dozens of hands shot up immediately. Andy pointed to a woman in the third row. "You, in the blue shirt, come on up." The woman practically ran to the stage. When she sat down in the chair that Meghan had just vacated, the audience gave her a standing ovation. "What is your name?" Andy asked. "Sarah," the woman said, beaming. "Well, Sarah, you have got to be having a more interesting day than you expected," Andy joked. "You have no idea," Sarah laughed. "I told my husband this morning that I was coming to see Watch What Happens Live, and he said it would probably be boring. I cannot wait to tell him what happened." Andy cracked up. "Please do. And make sure you tell him that you were a much better guest than an actual duchess." Sarah covered her mouth, giggling. "I am just happy to be here. This is so surreal." "See, that is the attitude," Andy said, pointing at Sarah. "That is what makes a good guest. Gratitude, appreciation, basic human kindness." The audience applauded again. "So Sarah, tell me," Andy continued, What do you do for a living? I am a nurse, Sarah said proudly. A nurse, Andy exclaimed. So you spend your days actually helping people and making a real difference in the world, unlike some people who just talk about how important they are. The audience roared with laughter. I love my job, Sarah said. It is hard sometimes, but it is rewarding. I get to help people on their worst days and hopefully make things a little bit better. Andy put his hand over his heart. That is beautiful. Seriously, you are doing real work that matters. And I bet you do not go around telling everyone how amazing you are. Definitely not, Sarah laughed. My patients keep me humble real quick. I bet they do, Andy said. You know what, Sarah? You have just taught everyone watching a valuable lesson. Real importance comes from what you do, not from what you say. It comes from helping others, not from putting them down. The audience gave Sarah another round of applause. They spent the next several minutes just talking. Andy asked Sarah about her family, her hobbies, and her favorite guilty pleasure TV shows. She was funny, charming, and completely natural. The audience loved her. Okay, Sarah, before you go, I have to ask, Andy said. What did you think when our previous guest started acting the way she did? Sarah paused, choosing her words carefully. Honestly, I felt bad for her. She clearly has some things going on. But I also thought it was really disappointing because she had this amazing opportunity to connect with people. And she just, I do not know, threw it away. That is a very kind way to put it, Andy said. More kind than she deserved, probably. Maybe, Sarah agreed. But I think being kind is always the right choice, even when other people are not. Andy stood up and gave Sarah a hug. You are wonderful. Thank you so much for coming up here and saving this show. Sarah hugged him back, then returned to her seat to massive applause. Andy brought up a few more audience members throughout the rest of the show. Each one was delightful, grateful, and genuine. They laughed, they shared stories, and they reminded everyone watching what real people are actually like. As the show was winding down, Andy addressed the camera directly. I know this episode went completely off the rails. We planned one thing and got something totally different, but in a weird way, I think this ended up being one of the most important episodes we have ever done. The audience quieted down to listen, because here's the truth, Andy said seriously. We live in a world where people are obsessed with celebrity and status. We put famous people on pedestals and sometimes forget that they are just human beings like the rest of us. And when those famous people start believing their own hype, when they start thinking they are better than everyone else, that is when problems happen. He paused, gathering his thoughts. What happened here today was a perfect example of what not to do, Andy continued. If you are lucky enough to have a platform, use it to lift people up, not to put them down. If you are fortunate enough to have opportunities, be grateful, not entitled. And if you find yourself in a position of influence, remember that respect is earned through your actions, not demanded because of your title. The audience was completely silent, hanging on every word. I hope the person who was here earlier watches this back and learns something, Andy said. I hope she realizes that she burned a bridge today that did not need to be burned. But more than that, I hope all of you watching remember that you do not have to accept disrespect from anyone. It does not matter how famous they are or how important they think they are. You matter. Your dignity matters. And you should never let anyone make you feel otherwise. The studio erupted one final time. People were on their feet, clapping and cheering. Thank you all for being here, Andy said, smiling widely. Thank you for being such a great audience. And thank you for reminding me why I love doing this show. It is not about the big celebrity names. It is about real connections with real people. And tonight, we definitely had that. As the show's theme music started playing and the cameras pulled back, Andy waved to the audience. They were still applauding, still energized by everything that had happened. What started as a disaster had turned into something meaningful. The entitled guest who thought she was too good for everyone had been shown the door. And in her place, regular people had gotten their moment to shine. They had shown more grace, more humor, and more humanity in 5 minutes than she had shown in her entire appearance. And that is really what this whole situation came down to. It was not about royal titles or Hollywood fame. It was about basic human decency. It was about treating others the way you want to be treated. It was about understanding that no one is too important to be kind. The guest who got kicked off the show that day learned a hard lesson. You cannot walk into a room thinking you are better than everyone else and expect people to just accept it. You cannot insult and demean others without facing consequences. And you cannot hide behind past struggles or previous status when your current behavior is unacceptable. Andy Cohen had drawn a line in the sand, and he had not backed down. He had shown that his show, his stage, and his audience deserved respect. And when that respect was not given, he had the courage to end the interview and remove the guest, regardless of how famous or connected she might be. It was a powerful statement. It said that character matters more than celebrity. It said that how you treat people matters more than what you have accomplished. And it said that everyone, from the biggest star to the person in the last row of the audience, deserves to be treated with dignity. So what do you think? Was Andy right to kick her off the show? Should celebrities be held to a higher standard? Or should they get more leeway because of the pressure they face?